Hey guys, welcome back to another week of our children's video lessons.
Which is awesome.
So we're learning about the armor of God. And in battles, soldiers, they wear armor, right? To protect themselves. But we're not in a war against people. We've been saying this. We're in a war. The Bible says we're in a war against unseen powers of evil.
Feels kind of
But
scary.
remember, we're on the winning side. We're on God's side, right? And we know the outcome. So we have a special armor to put on. And if you guys have been following along, it's been a couple weeks, but we started our Armor of God nights, coloring in all of our pieces. We had the belt of truth. We had the breastplate of righteousness. And today we're going to be talking about the shoes of peace. So you guys can color in your night for this week. You can color in those shoes to remind you about the shoes of peace.
Mom, are the shoes of peace giant sneakers with peace wrote on the side?
Maybe that's what your shoes will look like. Okay. So we have some fun shoes, like McKinley said, but the best shoes aren't actually the ones in our closet. They're God's shoes of peace. And in today's Bible story, we're going to find out how Jesus' friend tried to fight evil with violence. But Jesus knew that we fight evil with peace. And that's our Bible point for this week. We learned that we fight evil with truth. We fight evil with righteousness. And this week we're learning that we fight evil with peace.
So don't you need like all the armor in one? Sort of like you use all of it.
You can use all of it, but you sometimes only use parts of it at certain times. You don't always use all of it. So before we get started, I should have introduced our special guest this week. This is Shannon.
That
was a little late, McKinley. And you all know McKinley. So, all right, we're going to get started with our Bible story. All right, like we said, we're learning about the armor of God, but we're not fighting against flesh and blood, right? What are we fighting against?
Unseen evil.
All right, that's a little scary. All right, and our verses that we're looking at are Ephesians 6:10-12. It says, a final word, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against all strategies of the devil. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in his dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. So we're going to look at one time one of Jesus's friends got confused about who the battle was against, and he forgot that we fight evil with peace. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Jesus knew he was about to be arrested and killed, so he was praying in a garden. His friends were nearby, but they fell asleep. They were asleep nearby. Just as Jesus woke his friends, there was movement in the olive grove. Quick, get up! I think someone's coming. Come over here. You stay here. I'll see what's happening. It's just what I thought. It sounds like a crowd coming. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Quick, we need a plan. Strike a pose to show what you think we should do. What should we do? Should we fight? Yes. Let me see your fighting faces. It sounds like we have a few options. We could keep hiding. We could run away. We could fight. What should we do?
We want Jesus. We know he's here. Hand him over. We want to arrest him.
I saw Judas with this guy. But isn't Judas one of us? What's going on? We have to protect Jesus. Spread out your arms and form a barrier to protect Jesus. One of Jesus' friends, Peter, called out, "Lord, should we fight?" We brought the swords. Then he struck the high priest's slave with his sword and cut off his right ear. Jesus could have run away, but he walked toward the men who wanted to arrest him. And Jesus said this to Peter. "Put your sword back into its sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father has given me?" Then he touched the man's ear and healed him. When faced with this battle, Peter thought the battle was against flesh and blood, against the people who'd come to arrest Jesus. He thought he could fight the battle with violence. But Jesus knew that we fight evil with peace. And this was a battle against evil, not a few people with swords and torches. This was a battle he'd win by dying on the cross to beat death and sin. Jesus stepped through the crowd. He was wearing a different kind of armor. He was wearing the shoes of peace. In Ephesians 6:15, it says, "For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news, so that you will be fully prepared." It was hard to walk forward in peace and heal his enemy's ear, but Jesus was wearing the shoes of peace with each step. We're going to practice stepping forward with the shoes of peace too in our lives as we go on each day. The Bible verse we read said that our peace comes from the good news about Jesus. What do you think that means?
I think it means that, like you said, like the good news of Jesus, like, right?
Yeah, what does it mean that our peace comes from the good news about Jesus?
Like, it means Jesus, we can pray and for peace, and Jesus will help us give peace, but we can't just rely on a prayer. We also have to face it, sort of like how you have to face your fears if you're like afraid to do it. And so you can't just rely on one thing, sort of like a building. You have the foundation, which is the prayer, then you have to build up with confidence.
Okay, Shannon? What does it mean by good news? Where do we get our news from?
Well, the Bible.
Yeah. So where can we find that peace?
In Jesus.
In Jesus, in the Bible. The Bible explains all kinds of ways we can go about different situations peacefully.
We can find out about peace with this video.
Yeah. If our peace comes from knowing and sharing the good news about Jesus, we're going to see what it looks like in our lives, okay? So I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I want you to tell me some ways that you could show peace, okay? So if someone was making fun of you because you're a Christian, should you just start going in a tangent or a rant and start yelling at them? What's a peaceful way we could deal with that?
Well, you could say, you could ask your parents about the Bible, and if you don't, and you could read a verse or two, and if you still don't believe, then that's fine, but I'm gonna believe in him because that's my belief. Even though it's not yours, doesn't mean it's wrong or it's right.
Okay, Shannon?
Well, you could say, well, I kind of agree with McKinley.
Yeah.
But
we could fight that bullying with the truth from the Bible. You could just state a fact, right? That you know in the Bible and just deal with it. And then you could also say, "I'll be praying for you," right? Like if someone was making fun of you like that, like, you know what? I'm proud of who I am and who I am with Jesus, and I'm going to pray for you.
In a show, it's actually Bible Man. He would do that. when the enemy would attack, he would say a verse
Mm-hmm.
that would kind of relate. So you could say, for that, you could say like, love one and treat others the way you want to be treated, or love your neighbor, or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then like sometimes they may be like, what is that? And then you can tell them, well, it's the Bible. It's
Yeah.
from the Bible. It's from God's word. And so if they sometimes they just walk away saying whatever, but sometimes the way they react, you know that they actually no, like are taking what you said.
Yeah. What about if you see someone bullying another kid?
Oh, we learned.
Like, what is a peaceful way to deal with that?
You tell them that it's not right and that they should stop. In karate, they say to stand up for the other kid and say,
Mhm.
hey, that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, you should definitely step in and handle
Especially
it.
people
But
who,
should we argue with that person? Should we go back and forth arguing?
no.
What's a peaceful thing we could do?
You could say, hey, that's not nice. Please leave this kid alone. Then you could say, come on, I'll go play with you or something.
Yeah, that would
And
be great.
then they would have someone, you would have a new friend,
Mm-hmm.
and you would be able to help them. And
Yeah.
if that kid starts bullying you, then you could eventually tell a teacher or a parent
Right.
who is around.
That'd be more peaceful than arguing back. So thanks for those great ideas for how we fight evil with peace. When we wear the shoes of peace, we step away from violence because we're confident in the good news about Jesus. We've been learning about a special kind of armor God gives us and how it helps fight the tricks and lies of God's evil enemy. God's enemy likes to make things hard on us by taking away peace. For example, God's enemy can take away peace from friends during arguments. We're going to see what happens when we fight evil with peace instead of fighting each other, okay? So if you guys want to right now, you can ask a parent to help do this, or you can just watch along. But you will need a mason jar,
A little
candle, and a lighter, okay? So you definitely need supervision doing this, so don't try it at home without parent permission, okay?
It's because you should never play with fire.
That's right.
It is dangerous.
All right, so when people get in arguments with someone, it gets fiery and heated, and sometimes you can get really mad and say mean things, right? Like if you have a sibling, you might know how arguments can get heated. So this is representing our argument. Okay, here, leave it down there. Don't get it close to the computer. Okay, so there is our argument. It's fiery, it's heated, okay? When we have an argument, we say hurtful things sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that we might not actually mean. We say mean words, and that keeps that fire going. So that's why our fire is going right now. Pretend there's an argument going, and we're feeding that fire with mean, hateful things, right? Well, we're going to see what happens. Okay? If you can tell, that flame's going down.
Yeah. Can't really see on the computer as well.
No. Maybe not. You might not be able to see it on the computer. The flame's going out a little bit. But then right before they go out, oh man, I just fed that argument another hurtful thing. So that flame didn't go out, right? So as you're fighting, okay, we might stop our fight for a minute. We might be like, all right, argument's over. But sometimes, a lot of times, people want to have the last word, right? So as soon as that argument's about over, oh, here's another hateful word, right? And the argument's just still going.
Can I just blow it out? I don't want the argument to go on.
So, right. So if we just fight this flame, this argument with a peaceful response, what's going to happen?
The flame's gonna go out.
Flame's going to go out. Let's see. It's taking a while. I don't know if you guys can see it very good on the video.
Also might be our candle.
It's taking a while.
I can blow it out for you.
No, this is our experiment.
It's just about to go
It's
out.
almost out.
It's out.
Oh no, we must have fueled that with a hurtful word. Our argument's still going on. We got to be more peaceful.
Oh my goodness.
What's some peaceful things we can do in an argument?
You could say you're sorry.
Say you're sorry.
Oh, it went out.
What else, McKinley?
You could say the argument is over.
So the flame almost went out, right? But when the jar was lifted, it allowed oxygen in the air to get in the fire and to keep the fire going. Fire needs oxygen to
Just
burn.
like humans. Like
And
we
when
need
the
oxygen.
jar was over top of the flame, the fire burns up all the oxygen in the jar and the flame goes out. Saying mean words back to a person when you're arguing with them is just like giving that flame that oxygen. That was the oxygen was those words fueling the fire. So the fire of the argument won't ever go out. We can choose to behave differently in arguments though, right? It's our choice. We can fight an argument with peace instead of mean words or actions because peace can put out the flame of an argument. So again, what are some things we can say or do to bring peace to an argument?
So you could say, you know what? I don't want to fight. I want you as my friend. I like having you as a partner.
It's not worth it, right? It's
Like-
not worth fighting.
Like say someone stole something from you and maybe you could try to reason with them why you were using it or why they took it. Say maybe a parent told them to take it and you get in an argument for no reason.
Yeah.
But they were using it for something else that might have been homework. So you can also explain to them, say, if someone told you to do this, can you please tell them that I'm using it?
I think in arguments, communication is key, right?
That's
If you don't explain yourself or explain to someone maybe why what they said is hurtful, that can really not be helpful. If you're just like, I'm mad at you, but you don't explain yourself, that doesn't really help the situation, right? So communicating and being truthful, even sometimes being truthful and honest in an argument is hard to do. And sometimes the other person might not take it well, but it's what the argument needs probably. And if that person is a friend, they're going to see the truth and it's not going to be an issue anymore.
In karate, they tell us communication is the link between the world and me. So that means it means if you don't communicate, you can't link with everyone around you or anything else that's around you because you don't communicate. So that could affect other things too. Say it's not just a friend. Say it was actually like someone you've known for a long time that wasn't a relative, like a really good friend, and they had a sleepover and you got into an argument. Maybe they would, if you didn't end that argument well, they might have not. They are able to tell people about how that, and sometimes they will say mean things about you. And sometimes you still have to go back and communicate afterwards because you can't hide it all of the time.
Right. So bringing peace to an argument could be hard because most of us want to feel like we've won an argument. Like no one likes to lose. So we always want to win. We always want to have that last word. But nobody wins when friends get hurt, right? Everyone loses. When we choose kind words, when we choose to listen to our friends' thoughts, or we try another way to be peaceful in an argument, we put our shoes of peace on and we fight evil with peace, right? So that's all we have for you today. I want to thank Shannon and McKinley and our other little helpers for helping us explain this week's lesson. Have a good week, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.